what's up? This is JM, host of the Celebrity Grill podcast on iTunes, and you're listening to the BBQ Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling, all the time.
Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening, and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you want to jump in on the show tonight or you want to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up in about 13 minutes from now. He was off last month as he so graciously bowed out as we got a Robert Moss origin story. So he allotted time for that, but he's back in better than ever in his second Tuesday of the month segment. Creator of AmazingRibs.com, Meathead, of course. Now, I have an email saying that there's going to be a bit of turnabout as we start the segment, and I'll let him lead into that after I do my own normal starting of segments with all of my guests. But we'll see what Meathead has up his sleeve. Outside of that, we're going to be talking about 2023 gift guides, things that maybe Meathead might want if he is fraught with cash. Flush with cash. Money, no object. What's the gift that Meathead is buying himself above all others? And in 2023, a slew of top-notch gifts that people would want, no doubt about it. So we'll talk to Meathead about that. After Meathead, of course, we will have the aforementioned Robert Moss. Plenty to dig into with Robert. Maybe some history lessons on some of those major holiday proteins and where they've come to fall in line with tradition. And then we'll move to the second hour. As I'd mentioned, it was Robert Moss last week. This week, we have a new origin story with a 2023 Barbecue Central Show's guest Hall of Famer, famed pitmaster, a business of barbecue maven, captain of industry in this live fire world that we so dearly hold, that we so fondly, that we hold dear to ourselves. Let's say it like that. That's not the best way to say it, but I'm going to say it like that. You might know him as Shake and Bake. You might know him as Gateway Drum Smoker. You might know him as Blues Hog Barbecue. You might know him as the budding Marble Ridge meat supplier, Tim Scheer. An origin story of Tim Scheer. We're going to learn a whole bunch about Tim. So outside of just those four things that I'd mentioned that a lot of you know him from, if not a combination of those four things, we're going to learn about a whole bunch of other stuff. So stay tuned in the second hour for an origin story of Tim Scheer. So Meathead and Robert Moss, your typical first hour on a Tuesday in the second week of a month, and then a Tim Scheer origin story second hour, and we'll see how long that takes. You can follow me on Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat, all with the handle at BBQ Central Show. And we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of the video streaming platforms. Once again, we have changed it out from Twitch this week and supplemented it with X. So you can go to Facebook or X/BBQ Central Show, or you can watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. We also have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this. Your choice between the three for Christmas dinner, rib roast, turkey, or ham. And currently, 100% of you are saying prime rib roast. Wow. 100%. We have a third of the votes that are typically in at this point. So I thought myself we would see the black sheep, although it's not a sheep at all. It's pork. I thought we would see ham as a black sheep leader at this point. But it appears anybody that's voted is forsaking the granddaddy of them all last month, turkey. You're not doubling up on turkey. We used to double up on turkey when I was growing up. It was turkey Thanksgiving, turkey Christmas. Everybody is forsaking turkey. Everybody forsaking ham. 100% of you are saying prime rib roast or rib roast. Prime, the grade that I'm getting from Kevin down at the butcher shop there in Pensacola. So we'll see how the rest of the show tracks this evening. And let's start here tonight. Why not? No surprise here. Reaction coming in hot and heavy for both the origin story of one Fast Eddy Maurin and the joint segment with Malcolm Reed and Heath Riles talking about all things going on in Memphis these days as it relates to music events and barbecue competitions and same dates in May. It's hard to pick a winner here. Why even bother? I was surprised to hear how many folks didn't know that Fast Eddy was the guy who created the FE cooker. I mean, FE stands for Fast Eddy, for crying out loud. A lot of you knew about the unit or owned, perhaps still own, an FE cooker, but you didn't know who came up with it. Most of you thought it was solely a Cook Shack project, and you were surprised in a good way to hear that the whole story from last week from Eddy's mouth included the fact that Eddy was indeed the creator of the FE cooker. I might be wrong on this, but I think Eddy took production out of Cook Shack for a bit, went to Danson's for a hot second, ultimately bringing it back to Cook Shack, where they've lived and had this great marriage. We didn't talk about it last week, but he does have a pellet grill available as well called the PG-1000. It's a beast. It's expensive. I don't think it really sells well because of the cost involved. But to see it in action is to see a high-performance cooking unit that is truly unrivaled in the industry, especially the pellet industry or the pellet segment when you talk about cookers. Even the higher-end brands like Mac can't touch it. And we're not even going to talk about the consumer-level brands like Traeger and the other ones that you would know about you can find anywhere. So if you missed the interview with Eddy, go back and get it. Second hour last week. Now, in the first hour, Malcolm Reed, Heath Riles do a joint segment. We talked about the Memphis stuff that's going on. Look, maybe I'm foolish here, or this shows my naivete when it comes to the barbecue contest. I was shocked that neither Malcolm or Heath for 1 nanosecond even considered my question about being compensated to show up at the new event. All fees covered, and $2,000 to show up in your pocket. And if you win, you get to keep whatever the amount is in the winnings purse, and nobody knows what that is either. It was like a race of who could say no quicker between the two. I don't know what shotguns cost these days. I don't know if you heard the line or caught it when Heath spit it out last week. I don't know what shotguns cost these days, but if you can't get a good shotgun for $2,000, like, what the hell is going on? I don't even know. Outside of my thoughts, many of you thought that this was great that neither of them were interested in jumping into the new event, even if they were being incentivized to do so. They want to win Memphis in May. It's a world title. That's what they want. They're willing to sacrifice location in order to get title. And I'll be interested to see how this continues to track over the next few months, because they both brought up a number of good points during the segment. So if you missed it, make sure you grab it and get caught up. Steve from Tennessee writing in, Greg, great interview with two big-time competition teams. Adding Heath Riles to the mix, a great call as well. I loved when Malcolm said if it was $100,000 purse, he might consider going to the contest, but almost the next sentence, he said it wasn't about the money. Heath's observation about barbecue contests being about teams and not spectators was also very insightful. It's not a spectator sport for sure. Regards, Steve. Mushy writing in. Last Tuesday's episode with Malcolm and Heath was the best ever. Please do it again and again. Just excellent. Regards, Mushy. Is that your real name? Mushy? All right. Thank you for writing in. Before we get to Meathead, let me ask you a question. Not what you're having for holiday dinner, by the way. Are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? Yes, we all are. It's time to step up this game now. During the holiday season, bring the ultimate flavor and cooker to the backyard barbecues. Pits and Spits charcoal grills, offering the highest quality live fire cooking experience that you can get in the market today. Using either wood or charcoal, their solid fuel grills produce those flavors that you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the grill and cook with family and friends. With a large adjustable fuel tray, it's their take where you can fine-tune the heat, lower or raise that control. It's like the Santa Maria style grill, except in a Pits and Spits kind of way. Check them out online, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. Use promo code Charcoal Central, all one word, Charcoal Central. You get $150 off any charcoal grill that's available for sale on their website. And if you're spelling Pits and Spits, don't forget, little special here, it's the double T on the Pits and the Spits. Pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central, and then code Charcoal Central. When you're buying a charcoal grill, saves you $150 off any of the charcoals. Come on. All right, we're back with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by CookinPellets.com, longtime sponsor of the show, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit CookinPellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also buy, which we recommend, Walmart.com, Lowe's.com, Amazon.com. Same great selection, even better shipping rates by a long shot than you can get at the CookinPellets.com website. But peruse there first, and then when you're ready to buy, Lowe's, Walmart, or Amazon, all places to go. Vendors. It is the second Tuesday of the month, and that brings a visit from our pal and the creator of AmazingRibs.com, Meathead. Welcome back after a month off on hiatus, and a forced hiatus on my part, of course, as we got the origin story of Robert Moss. Meathead, I don't know if you listened to it or not, but if you did, was there one thing that you learned about Robert Moss that you didn't know?
I did not. I without going into great detail, I had a family emergency and I had to go to Florida. My mother, 98-year-old mother, had a little issue. So
98-year-old mother.
98 years old, my mom
Holy
is, and
moly.
she's in rehab now, and it's a long story. I don't want to get into it and want
Yep.
to bum you or my guest out, but I will yield to the illustrious Robert Moss any day. I don't know if you're aware that he worked for us for a little while, did some real
I did.
good to me to the website.
I don't know if you knew
Um,
this or not, but Robert Moss is evidently, for as big of a barbecue writer and historian, I thought that's what he did. He's like mega computer guy. So obviously
Oh,
you
yeah.
probably knew that, but I had no idea that he was so entrenched in the beginnings of, where computers are and followed right along.
Yeah, and actually he did some technical work on our site. So
Hmm.
hell of a guy, hell of a guy.
Meathead, YouTube poll question of the week. We're asking everybody, and it's a runaway at the moment. Your choice between the
Prime
three for a prime
rib.
rib it is. Very good.
Yeah, and I cook it for the gang.
Yeah.
I do a reverse sear. Lately, I've been sous videing it, then searing it, because I got to go over the river and through the woods. And so, if you sous vide it, I can keep it in the warm water in a beer cooler, carry it miles, hold it at a steady temp, and then everybody's having cocktails and having fun. And about 30 minutes before dinner, I go out back, fire up my host's Weber Genesis, and sear the snot out of it, and we have great prime rib. And by the way, I usually buy a full 7-bone prime rib roast, strip the bones off, save those for another meal for my wife and me. Those bones, baby backs, beef baby backs, they're fantastic. Then I pull the spinalis off, which is the crescent-shaped muscle that wraps around the tube down the center, the longissimus, or the eye of the ribeye, and I cook only the eye of the ribeye, and that way everybody gets these beautiful, round, perfectly cooked discs. Just fantastic.
Huh. So what's a 7-bone weigh?
10 pounds or more.
So if I'm getting a 17-pound prime grade rib roast from Kevin at the butcher shop in Pensacola, is that coming in one hunk, or am I going to get 2 hunks?
You might get 2. Now, 17-pound, that might include the bones. I don't know. You need to check with him. He may be giving. Mine is usually 10 pounds.
Yeah.
I have a standing order for it. So I know our time's limited, and you hit me with a quiz question.
Yes.
Tonight, I have quiz for you.
Oh, all right. Do you want the drum roll lead in?
Whatever you want. Let's just get it on.
All right. Here we go.
Okay. At the end of the year, Google publishes its list of the most popular searches, and they cover a whole variety of categories.
Yeah.
And one of them is the most popular recipe searches. So I'm going to read to you the top 10 most popular recipe searches, and you're going to tell me what they are. Number 10 is softball for you, cottage cheese ice cream.
I'm supposed to tell you what the dish is?
Yeah, what is cottage cheese ice cream?
I don't know.
It's ice cream made out of cottage cheese and sugar, the way you would make it out of regular cream. Okay, here it gets more interesting. What is number 9? A Brazilian lemonade.
It's a lemonade with limes in it.
It's actually, you're very close. It's primarily a limeade. There's not any lemons involved. I don't know why they call it a lemonade. And you start with whole lemons, mash them all up, let them stew for a day or two, and then you mix condensed milk in with it.
No cachaça?
Okay. I have no idea.
Right. You know what cachaça?
Yes.
Cachaça is?
Yeah, it's potent
Brazilian
stuff.
rum. Yeah.
Yeah, potent stuff. Okay, number 8. They get harder. Number 8 is the coronation quiche.
It's a Cornish game hen stuffed quiche.
No, it's the coronation, like for the queen or the king coronation. It's pretty standard quiche, egg and cheese, but it has fava beans in it. What?
Oh, Faba beans.
And
like
these
a
are the
nice
top 10
Chianti.
searches on Google.
Well, this is across the globe, right?
No, these are the U.S. top 10. There is another, you can ask it to give you the top 10 searches for any country or across the globe.
Oh, wow.
This is from U.S. only. Cowboy butter.
Oh dear. Is that butter? Is it beef tallow? Cowboy butter?
I thought it was a beef marrow, but it's not. It's compound butter with a lot of stuff in it. It's got lemon juice, garlic, shallots, mustard, horseradish, cayenne, paprika, parsley, chives, thyme, salt, and pepper.
Wow.
It's a compound butter. What's a Hugo Spritz?
Sounds like a cocktail with spritz at the end. So there's probably some type of soda water or nonsense in there. Hugo Spritz.
I don't know where the Hugo comes from.
Is it bourbon and soda?
It's from northern Italy, and it's made with elderflower liqueur, Prosecco, and mint. And if you've never had elderflower liqueur, it ain't cheap, but it is marvelous. Go get yourself some. All right, here we get weird now. The Pumptini, number 5. Pumptini.
Pumptini. Another cocktail. I don't have the first idea.
I thought for sure it was a pumpkin martini or something. It's not. It's somehow connected to the Vanderpumps, whom I have no idea who they are, but they are, I think, some sort of television personalities.
Yeah.
And it has raspberries, orange liqueur, grapefruit juice, lime juice, simple syrup, and vodka. Sounds good, actually.
There's a lot of ingredients in that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff in there. Pumptini.
Pumptini. All right.
You'll have to tell me who the Vanderpumps are one day. Black cake. This is an icon, and I didn't know about it. And I researched it, and then son of a gun, my neighbor brought me some.
Black cake? I don't know.
It's a Jamaican tradition, and it's almost required on Christmas. It's a type of fruit cake. They start with dried cherries and dates and stuff and soak them in rum until they inflate, and then they bake the cake around it. There's molasses, brown sugar, more rum, eggs, a lot of eggs. And I just tasted some, and it's good. It's better than regular fruitcake, I'll tell you that.
Did a Jamaican bring it over to you?
No, actually, a friend brought it over. I guess she heard about it. A lot of these sound to me to be things that came to us through TikTok, you know?
Yeah, like washing your chicken before you cook it on TikTok with soap.
Speaking of chicken, number 3, coming down the home stretch, chicken cobbler.
All right. How about is this something like a casserole with biscuits on top, but they're calling it cobbler or a cobbler top?
You got it. You've nailed it. It's sort of like a pot pie in a pan, 9x13 pan, with biscuits on top. Okay, this one is off the chain though. Lasagna soup.
Lasagna soup. All right. I mean, is it ingredients for lasagna, except it is now a soupy broth of tomato-ish instead of thickness?
It's a tomato soup with ground beef and sausage, spinach.
That's the number 2 most searched recipe on Google?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, you notice there's nothing barbecue here.
I was going to say,
damn little
brisket?
Meat. There's no meat anywhere. Yeah. The number 1 most searched on Google for the whole year 2023 is the Grimace Shake.
Yeah, right.
You know it?
Yeah, that was viral maybe 2 or 3 months ago, maybe over the summer. McDonald's actually brought it out, and then everybody and their mother was trying to replicate it at home. It's some purple piece of crap.
I never heard of any of these.
Yeah.
It's a berry flavored milkshake that McDonald's brought out from June to July, and apparently everybody was trying to figure out how to make it. These are the top 10 most Googled recipes of 2023, I'm going to go out of business.
Heartache and pain. I mean, no burgers, no ribs. I mean, you're AmazingRibs.com for crying out loud. And no, not even like butter candle or anything that was even trendy at the beginning of the year. Wow, this is a sad state of affairs. I feel like we're still in the pandemic with those searches.
Yeah, Oklahoma burgers,
Right.
they were catching on for a while. They're great, by the way. I love making those. Nowhere in sight.
Interesting. How's the rub and sauce business going for you?
It's a sideline for us, Greg. We are not actively promoting it. We don't have a salesman on staff. We brought it out just because the people at Old World Spices said that we're a big brand and we ought to try doing rubs and sauces that people know of us and have heard of us, and they'll buy them. So we've got them on the website. And we've done a couple of promotions with email and stuff, but we've got no money behind it. We're not anywhere near where Malcolm and Heath and those guys are in promoting their rubs and sauces. And frankly, I don't care to compete with them. It's just a sideline. It's found money to us.
So you don't have any plans to try and get it in anywhere or have somebody try and solicit?
I'd love to see a grocery chain or somebody pick it up, but we have made no effort, and I don't have time. I got to finish this stupid stinking book.
Oh, well, I wasn't even going to ask you about it, but you just called it stupid and stinking. So have we found hurdles on the last 500?
Oh God,
here?
yes. I don't know how much I've told you and the listeners, but what I turned in May was double the size.
Yeah, you were pitching then. You were trying to reverse the deal into a 2-book.
It's really hard cutting. I mean, there's a lot of great information hitting the cutting room floor. It'll end up on the website, maybe another book. I don't know. But I'm cutting, and I mean, what's left is really good, but it's just killing me that I'm leaving stuff out.
But don't you? We've already talked about this a little bit, but maybe you weren't listening to me the last time. I'll try it again. Get over yourself a little bit. Cut the shit out that needs to be cut out and deliver the book, and then fashion the shit on the floor as you're handing it in and say, I want the deal for book 3. That's the easiest book you're going to write, and you can get an advance on that too, and you take all that money.
That's kind of where we're going. It's just writing a book is a bit of sculpture. You have to shape it.
Yeah, but they're telling you what to write and what they want.
I take great pride in my writing.
Yeah, but they're paying you, Meathead, to produce something. You can't just step in your own way.
I'll turn in a good book. I will. It'll be an excellent book. I trust me.
I'm sure.
It's just making it an excellent book, making there be a beginning, a middle, and an end, and making it flow, making it all connected, making everything related, plus the recipes that demonstrate the procedures and so on. It just. I use pejoratives surrounding it because it's just been eating my life. I mean, that's all I've been doing now for more than a year is trying to finish this book. And I'll be very happy when
do you need a ghostwriter? Do you want me to bring in Doug Tratner to help you get this going? He'll do it for a price.
No.
Do you know Doug Tratner?
All I can say is thank God I have Clint and the rest of the team running the website so I can focus on the book.
I guess. I mean, what else could you possibly be doing?
Well, I could be working on the website and doing other stuff like that, but that's okay.
Wow, unbelievable!
And then I waste my time hanging out with you. I mean, this is terrible.
Is 20 minutes. How dare you put it on me? It's 20 minutes at 9:30 at night. What are the biggest holiday gift suggestions? Outside of thermometers and the stuff that we know about, that we tell everybody about, what's the outside the box stuff you're telling people?
We've got a holiday gift guide on the website, and we break it down into price categories: $50 and under, $51 to $200, and so on. Thermometers are all over the place because every year the technology takes new leaps.
Yeah,
there's some really cool new thermometers out there. I mean, I know you know about the combustion thermometer, and there's some really cool stuff happening. But one of the things that I really liked this year that's on the buy list is a gadget called Venom. Are you familiar with it?
No?
It's a device that attaches underneath a Weber kettle and surrounds the intake vents. And it's a thermostat controller. It has an LED screen, and it opens and closes the vents depending on the temperature you set for the
This thing?
for the oven. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. Spider grills.
$200.
It attaches where the ash pan is. It has its own ash collector, and we did a review of it. I did a review of it. I've got one attached to my kettle, and it really works. It nails the temperature inside that Weber kettle almost on the money. I've had a little problem with the Wi-Fi connection, but that I think is more of a problem with my internal Wi-Fi. But it really does a beautiful job of holding a Weber kettle on temperature, and it's got a variety of bells and whistles and controls. I forget how much it's around $200 or
$199 USD.
There you go. Nice little gadget. If you've got a Weber kettle, you want to make sure you have the slow and sear, which goes in the Weber kettle. And then this is the next best thing I've seen to attach to the Weber kettle. By the way, have you heard that Weber has brought out a new 26-incher?
No.
Yeah. I just got the announcement yesterday, a 26-inch kettle.
They've had that, though, right? Or has it always been a 22 or 24?
The 22 and this 26 is got all kinds of. It's got the performer type functions built in.
Oh,
it's an upgrade.
If money's no object, and you have a lot of stuff, you've played with a lot of stuff, but for whatever you had to give back or donate out, what have you, if I'm writing you a check and money's no object, what are you going out and putting on your bag deck?
Well, it's funny. I would love to have a BBQ, which is a log burning pit. And in fact, I have one.
Yeah.
And I've had it for years, and I hardly use it because it requires sitting next to it almost full time, tending it but the food that comes out of it is unparalleled. And I'm cutting down on the number of large metal objects on my deck, and I'm giving it away.
The BBQ?
A BBQ. It's an expensive couple of $3,000. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
It's been sitting on my deck, and I put out a notice in our Pitmaster Club. I gave away my backwoods smoker. I gave away my big green egg, and now I'm giving away my BBQ, all to members of our Pitmaster Club. Guys coming out next week to pick up the BBQ. I'm trimming down.
There's a guy in Cleveland who wants a BBQ Meathead. Jesus Christ! You don't even reach out and say, "Hey, what's going on? How craziness!"
I put a notice in the Pitmaster Club, and I know you were a member.
I know. I must have missed it. Shame on me. Well, that guy's going to enjoy one of the finest wood burning pits. I would say offset, but it's not offset. Yeah, it's great.
We give away a lot of grills and smokers. That we enjoy an 82% renewal rate, which is incredible.
Yeah, and it's cheap for what some of those other places are getting for the information and the early alerts and all that stuff. Certainly well worth it. ROI is there, no doubt about it. And look, this is Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. You see him here on the second Tuesday of every month for the last 15 years. And the next time
I was still in high school when I started coming on your show.
I know, it's crazy. We were both so much younger. And in 2024, Meathead's going to start his 48th year guesting on this show, the second Tuesday of every month. Are you in for 2024, Meathead?
Hell yes.
Yes. Here we go.
Hell yes. Yeah, I'm going to ask for a raise.
I will be happy to double what I'm paying you currently.
Yes.
Hopefully that will suffice. All right. Any other
2
questions
times 0,
or
everybody
anything?
knows what that
That's
is.
right. We know. AmazingRibs.com is the place to go. You can also find him on social. Meathead, always appreciate the time. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you in 2024.
Fun hanging with you as always, and great holiday
Yep.
to you and your lovely wife and your
Thank you.
beautiful daughters. Great 2024.
All right, we'll see you then. In January, almost said June. We're halfway through 2024 already. No. So we'll see Meathead in January. Robert Moss is ready to. Meathead talked about giving away a bunch of cookers. He mentioned a big green egg. Well, I'm here to talk about another ceramic cooker, a Primo grill. Oh, yes. Well, I think we can all agree on a few different things. We love ceramic cookers because they are tremendously fuel efficient, especially now where I live, where Meathead lives, where Jason King lives in the Great White North, Johnny Maggs in the Great White New England East. It's going to start to get cold. I mean, not over the next week, at least here in Cleveland, but at some point it will snow for the next 6 months. When the ceramics heat up in the Primo, now it doesn't matter how cold it is outside. That charcoal has to work way less to keep the heat in. And the other cooker, it's got to work that much harder to keep the 225, the 250, the 275, but not the Primo. Ceramics are warm, and now the fuel economy kicks in. Also, the humid cooking environment kicks in. Learned that again this past weekend as I did 4 racks of ribs. So space, while at a premium, certainly enough on the XL, thanks to the oval deflector plates in there, of course. A couple chunks of apple wood for a little wood smoke. Delicious, perfectly cooked ribs each and every time. And while I'm not averse to drafting systems of any kind, no need for me. Lock it in right at the beginning, and boom, stays right on target for hours and hours on end. And I don't skimp with the charcoal. I'm like full load. So wherever you think you would normally stop, I'm actually more charcoal on top of that. Because you can always just knock off the coal or knock off the ash and use whatever's remaining for the next cook. I get plenty of cooks out of one load of charcoal in a Primo. Only sold through dealers, so find one near you. PrimoGrill.com, go to the dealer locator, and then check them out in person. Find the oval that's right for you. Again, I have the XL. I've never known anybody to bitch about having one that's too big. I do know people that bitch about having one that's not big enough. So don't live with regret right off the bat. Once again, PrimoGrill.com. All the accessories that you want. Rotisseries. You could use a rotisserie for that prime rib roast that you're going to be doing at 86%. Now saying that they're going to be doing that. 10% saying turkey and 5% saying ham. And we'll be back with Robert Moss right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we thank Meathead for joining us last segment, AmazingRibs.com, his website. This segment brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring. Or connect via Bluetooth if you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home. Your luck. Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. Don't forget about the Fireboard Spark and the brand new Fireboard Beacon as well. Why not? My next guest is the contributing barbecue editor to Southern Living Magazine. Last month, we had the origin story, and we are back under normal pretense here. It's Robert Moss, robertfmoss.com. Robert, we're asking everybody this YouTube poll question of the week, and Meathead was rifling his answer right off at the top, but I'll ask you to remain calm as we get the question out, okay, at least. Choice between the 3 for a Christmas dinner: a prime grade rib roast, a turkey, or a ham. Where are you living at?
Rib roast, 100%.
All right. Do you have a specific grade that you prefer if you're buying that?
No, I don't. I'm trying to think. I don't normally have a big Christmas dinner here. A couple of times when I did have family and I did a big rib roast, I can't remember if it was prime or not, but it was certainly really good. And of all the things I serve when I have a guest over, that people put a hurting on the rib roast more than anything else, and they come back for seconds, thirds, and then even maybe a little slivers at the end for fourths.
86% of folks are saying the rib roast, 10% saying turkey, and 5% are saying ham. My math is not that good, but I believe YouTube's mathematics are off by at least 1% because 86 plus 10 is 96 plus 5 is 101, and that's bad math.
I'm assuming you got some rounding errors going on there, but
it's terrible. I mean, come on, we're at the height of technology here. You can't get me to 100%. I mean, that's outrageous. So as I had mentioned last month, we were doing the origin story of Robert Moss, which we certainly appreciate. Last week, we did Fast Eddy's origin story, the creator of the Effie Cooker. And in the second hour tonight, we'll be doing an origin story of Tim Scheer from Shake and Bake Barbecue and Gateway Drum Smoker. So looking forward to getting through all these as all the guests happen to be that are doing these. 2023 Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Famer. We didn't get to this item last month because of said origin story, but I know you had some thoughts, or you at least wanted to talk a little bit about this Memphis in May / Mempho Fest, or whatever the hell it's going to be called, as the competing. Here's the thing. It's the gift that has kept on giving all of 2023, at least since March when we really started to hype up the event. And then you had the associated fallout, and now you have an upstart that's going to be taking place on potentially the same dates as Memphis in May. It's the only way that it makes sense. In Tom Lee Park, what are your thoughts?
Well, we actually had on the list to talk about. That was long before the whole competitive
I know, right?
Came along and everything else. It was really more just tying that into all the issues with the KCBS scoring controversies, and boy, yeah, the truck keeps veering off the road and into the further and further into the ditch. So my thoughts, I think in general, we didn't get to talk about it because we were doing the origin story. I went to the Jack up in Lynchburg back at the end of October, and was a judge there and got to see that major as well. So this has got me thinking a lot about what's going on. I feel like we're at a inflection point with barbecue competitions. I don't know, and we may get more into the 2024 prognostications at some point here, but I don't know where they're going. But I feel like there's a lot of controversy, but I think it's also represents that you're sort of at this changing of the leadership. If you think about those organizations, and of course the Memphis MA CEO resigned, since we originally want to talk about this. Yeah. We had the changing of leadership at KCBS going on as well. When I could talk for hours about the Jack. It was a great experience. I got to sit at the table with Artie Davis, Remus Powers, who is a sort of iconic figure at the Jack, but it was his last Jack. He's retiring. And will not be coming back. He does the swearing in of the judges. He does the burning of the grievances at the big party the night before. He's sort of this iconic figure. And so I actually got to sit at the table with Artie as and judge alongside him, which was just by coincidence. But I felt like it was a changing of the guard as well, in that sense that you've got a lot of people moving out of it. So I don't know where it's heading, but I think you see some of that starting to surface with Memphis in May. I think you see some of that in the changeover at KCBS, and I think you're just having a lot of transition pains going on right now, and I'm not sure where they're going to lead.
When you're looking at the inner workings of this Jack Daniels, you're judging. So it's technically not a KCBS event in.
Oh no, it is. The Jack is a KCBS.
KCBS. It's an invitational. So if you win the Jack, these aren't points accumulated towards Team of the Year or anything like that. This is separate. It is sanctioned by KCBS, but when you're seeing all this happen, not anywhere near the size of the American Royal, and as I kind of learned last month, you're big into tech. I mean, computers and all this other stuff. Is there a point where technology needs to be leveraged way more than it is? I'm not just talking about KCBS, but just in general in this kind of a scoring atmosphere. Is there too much human error potential that technology could whittle away or minimize to a large degree, or no matter if you're putting iPads in front of people, it's not going to necessarily give you a better shot at coming up with more accurate results?
Yeah, I don't know that this is a problem technology will solve. You know, a lot of what I do in technology is what's the problem you're trying to solve, and let's define the problem and then figure out the best way to solve it. Yes, the judging system for KCBS is still paper slips and a pen at the table, and you mark down a number from 5 to 9 on the slip, and then someone has to go tally it all up. So there's room for error there. But if you've ever seen how much barbecue sauce is at the table of a judging table and all the wadded up napkins, there's plenty of room for keyboard errors and et cetera at the table too. So I'm not sure that it's a problem that technology is going to solve per se. It's hard to say exactly what went wrong with I know from the CEO coming on the show that there was a lot of issues with a tech vendor, but it sounds like technology was a part of the problem here. And so it's probably, as in most cases with technology, it's less the technical piece of it as the process and the system, systematic nature of doing something that messed up, which is bound to happen when you have something I think is it's complicated, the judging and the scoring and the tallying of it. So I think it's surprising to me that the errors don't happen more often than having been through it a couple of times.
I think there's two schools of thought on that, depending on if you're a shithead or not. I'm going to not be a shithead. You had the American Royal issue. You had then a month or so later the incident at the Atlanta barbecue store. Not necessarily related. Haven't heard anything since that. And that might have become a bigger deal than it really should have, because it was on the heels of the American Royal, and that's the biggest contest of the year that KCBS sanctions. And there were not awards held because nobody wanted to call the wrong winner again that had happened at the American Royal. So I think I can chalk this up at this point because nothing else has happened, and nobody's even called me and said, hey, don't say this, but it looks like we got something here or something there. I can chalk this up as anomalous. It was a unfortunate 2023 at the end, and nothing else has happened unless it starts to happen again or regularly for whatever reason in 2024. You got to dig into it a little bit more, but I can hold it as anomalous here at this point. Were you at the Jack? Was it as magical as people make it sound? I know you're not competing there, but I mean, you have a different view and a different eye on this, where you could probably write an article 2 or 7 on being in the holler and all this other stuff. Is it as magical and majestic as people paint it to be?
I told you I'd come on and say it was magical. It was wonderful. There was butterflies everywhere. It actually was. The setting is fantastic, and being in the hollow and particularly we got the tour distillery. They do the big party up on the hill. All that part was really, really quite fantastic and interesting. I really enjoyed the judging, but what I did not expect was it's done under a giant tent right in the middle of the competition. I did not expect that there would be bleachers on either side of the judges' tent with like dozens and dozens of people just sort of sitting in the bleachers watching. Even less, I didn't expect it. It'd be sort of like Old Home Week. I actually ended up knowing a ton of people under that tent. A lot of the judges are actual, famous competition folks that you would know. A lot of barbecue Hall of Famers under there, and so it was sort of a little bit more. I thought I was going to be sitting by myself at a table with some random people eating a bunch of barbecue out of boxes, and it turned out to be sort of like talking to people and catching up and seeing a bunch of people I hadn't seen in a while, and so it was actually a lot of fun. So that was one piece. So I think the Jack is special in that way, that a lot of folks like Chris Lilly, Ray Lampe, Amy Mills, lots of people came who weren't competing that year, but to judge, but see everybody and catch up. So that part was definitely cool, and I definitely enjoyed that. Probably the social aspect of it a lot more than totally surprised me. I didn't expect it would be such a social event.
Do you have any thoughts on where Memphis is at right now?
I think no. I don't know how much to add other than last two shows you had guests with a lot more inside knowledge than me. I don't see how you're going to have two of these festivals coinciding with each other. I could see how this could be a disaster every year, and then they decide to join forces, which I think Carrie Bringle sort of maybe alluded to. I could see how they devolve into two totally different things. One's more of a traditional barbecue competition, one's more of a music festival. I don't know, but yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen in May, and even how it will come off, because there's so few details right now. I think about the new festival that it's sort of hard to even see. Is it going to be like, are they going to try to just replicate Memphis in May with the judging style and everything else? Or is it going to be much more along the lines of the, more of a barbecue festival with a competition aspect? Whereas most competitions like Memphis in May or the Jack is primarily a barbecue competition that has a festival around it. I could see them maybe switching that up a little bit. So I'll be watching curiously, but no, I don't have a good crystal ball on how that's going to unfold. And it is really 6 months out. Having planned some large events like that, that's not a long time to put together something of that nature. So who knows what's going to happen?
2023 trends that you liked in the live fire industry this year?
Cowboy butter for sure.
Oh yeah,
been making that every week. Yeah. Alongside my Grimace shakes.
Yeah.
No, I had no idea what a Grimace shake was. So, what did I like in 2023? I'm a little bit more restaurant focused, a little more in that area. I really did like the trend I keep seeing of sort of barbecue restaurants taking traditional barbecue techniques, live fire, slow smoking, and then blending it with the pitmaster's background. I've eaten more interesting barbecue restaurants in the past year of people who took sort of like, I sort of took the traditional Texas brisket and Texas Trinity, or I took traditional Carolina whole hog, but then I threw in a few flavors of my own that really made it fantastic. I was lucky a couple months ago to go by Prime Barbecue it's in Nightdale, which is just west of Raleigh, North Carolina. And Christopher Prieto has a great barbecue joint up there. And on Saturdays, he does a whole hog that is sort of traditional Eastern North Carolina whole hog, except he's from a Puerto Rican background. And so he does, instead of a vinegar sauce, he does this mojo sauce. And it's one of the best things I've had in a long time. So that is a trend in 2023, which I think was carrying over from 2022, but really brought a nice novelty to barbecue at a time when I felt like there's a point where everybody's starting to do the same thing over and over again. I think people are starting to get creative and really branch out. So that was very encouraging for sure.
When you look into the first half of 2024, what are you prognosticating as far as trends we might see pop up?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, most of what I want to prognosticate, I think, is like my wishful thinking. Like, I would love to see Nashville hot chicken fall off, or Nashville hot everything fall off the map. And Nashville hot chicken had its moment a couple years ago. Yeah, now it's Nashville hot, you name it. Nashville hot lamb, Nashville hot this, Nashville hot that, which basically takes perfectly good meat, drowning them in hot pepper, and then ruining them that way. I saw something just today. Gosh, I hate anything on YouTube or Instagram where somebody's making Nashville hot chicken, stacking it like a gyro and carving it off. And I was like, all right, that's enough. That's enough. So I'd like to see the end of Nashville hot anything. I don't know if I'm going to predict that though, because that's definitely me. Me wishing for a change.
Did you like
but
it
certainly
at one
if I'm
point?
getting fatigued of it. Nashville hot chicken was okay. I mean, I thought
it was like, delicious. It was like fried chicken. Then it was dipped in that hot
spicy
oil, but then littered with a number of dill pickles on top. I mean, damn, it's still one of my favorite sandwiches. If it's on the menu at a restaurant I've never been to, there's a good chance I'm going to try that first.
Yeah, that was like 5 or 8 years ago, though. I mean, the Princess Hot Chicken folks came down to Charleston years ago and did a whole event down here where no one had ever heard of it. So that's been around forever. But then I think chefs sort of latched onto it. And this is less barbecue, but you see a lot in the barbecue joints as well. But there is so much Nashville hot oysters, Nashville hot anything in restaurants that I have to suffer through when I'm reviewing them. I would just assume be done with the hot stuff. It's like a thrill ride, but I mean, yes, it's fun occasionally, but do you want it every week? At least I don't. My guts won't stand for it more than once a month or so.
All right. What else do you see from a potential trend or a wish for 2024?
Well, I think we talked about the competition scene. I do think that there's going to be a lot of shaking up there. Like I say, I think there's this with the change in the guard. I think there's a lot of movement going on and things shaking around. One thing I did, when I went through the whole KCBS, I went to the judging class and all that, and then I went to the Jack and just talking to people and everything. There is a moment where you're starting to see they're having trouble getting judges. It's the people are getting older. They don't want to travel as much. Apparently, if it starts to rain, they'll have half the judges cancel on them at a lot of events. And so I think we're going to see, just challenges within the within the competition world. I think Pegleg mentioned when he was on your show about the person who'd been judging for 30 minutes at Memphis in May. I think that's going to be more and more common. As you see people retiring, and I don't see as much of a backflow of younger people coming in. Doesn't mean the competition is going to go away. Doesn't mean that they're and you're seeing the changes of formats. I just think they're going to evolve and change. And so I think we'll have a lot of conversations in 2024 about the future of the competition circuit and whether it's time to change things, do things differently, try new formats, try new approaches.
We'll see how that tracks. We're talking with Robert Moss, website robertfmoss.com. 2024, do we predict the resurgence of the Q sheet?
Q sheet, probably not.
That's a no.
Probably not. No. I'm actually looking forward to 2024 and trying to decide what I'm going to focus on. We could talk a lot about the changing dynamics of the writing industry and everything.
Yep.
I think you're going to see more books, fewer free things like newsletters, fewer short, fluffy articles, and more things that are going to I'm going to enjoy doing and will last longer than the weekly newsletter.
All right. We will see him in January. It's Robert Moss. Robert, appreciate the time. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you in January.
You too, Greg.
All right. Robert Moss right there. robertfmoss.com, his website, of course, and he does a little social media as well. You can find him. All right. We got time. We can wrap up the first hour here. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
We thank Robert Moss for joining us last segment. robertfmoss.com, his website. 83% of you are saying rib roast for Christmas dinner, followed up on a tie, 9% each, turkey and ham. And I'm surprised turkey is that much, but I'm surprised ham is that little. But I did see that people thought ham is kind of crappy. Well, looky here. Memphis Barbecue Supplies in the chat. Jimmy Shotwell. Memphis celebrity Jimmy Shotwell, I might add. Was it... Jimmy, was it 2018? It was 2018 that I'm referencing, but did you win Best Podcast for the year of 2017? Or was it 2018, the year that it didn't matter, like they just gave it out that year? We were in Fort Worth, NBBQA, where I did 3 days of live shows, 3 hours each day, and Jimmy gets the win for Best Podcast. What? I did 9 hours of live show right there at the awards. Jimmy gets it. All right, whatever. Luckily, nobody's bitter. Thank God. No harboring, nothing like that. It was one or the other. Anyway, we're going to the second hour. Stick around. Be right back.
This is Marley and Rampy, and you're listening to BBQ Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet or wiener. Oh, listen, Liberty, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, welcome into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show. '18 NBBQA podcast of the year, but I feel like that was in March of 2018, right? Who the hell knows how they were even operating back then? Still to come on the show this evening, Tim Scheer from Shake and Bake Barbecue, Blues Hall, Gateway Drum Smoker, and Marble Ridge. I want to say Mineral Ridge. That's a city in over by Youngstown, Ohio. Marble Ridge. They got Wagyu. They got high-end hog out there. I was sound checking with Tim earlier today, and he was revealing behind the curtain on how they get their heifers pregnant. It's a whole situation going on over there. Oh my God. That's going to be a segment or two all on its own. Jason King asking, Rempy, you in the Barbecue Hall of Fame yet? No. I mean, I've been nominated every year for 6 years, 7 years. So we're over the first hurdle, Jason, as we continually are every year, making it into the names nomination hopper. Every year that I'm nominated, I am then put out an additional 5 years. So if nobody nominated me for 4 years after that, I would still be in that name, that big holding tank of names that people have to talk about, and then I'm quickly voted out. Every year is either being too young, too handsome, too rich, whatever. So we don't want to put them in. But maybe someday, but maybe not. And between you and me, Jason, don't tell anybody. I mean, who cares, right? I mean, I'm happy here in Cleveland. We're doing this show. You're still here. You did. What did you do? What was the dish you did? Booze teen?
I made $970,000.
All right. Booze teen. I mean, if that's not Hall of Fame, that's it. Jason, go to my website, go under Hall of Fame, and look, are you in the guest Hall of Fame? Were you put in 2018? If not, I got to get you on my short list for 2023. Holy shit. How could you not be in the guest Hall of Fame for doing Booze Teen? We're going to have to make that. There's a lot of things that need to be corrected after going through the guest Hall of Fame this year. But the good news is, at least at this point, we have time. I mean, nobody has time. Nobody gets out alive. But we have time. So we'll see what we can do. YouTube poll question of the week. We're asking everybody this. Your choice between the 3 for Christmas dinner, rib roast, turkey, or ham. 82% of you are saying rib roast. 11% now saying turkey. What? And 7% of you are saying ham. How dare you do turkey again? Learn from me. Learn from me. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, episode 312, if you can believe it, taking you back to December 16th of 2008. 2008. Wait a sec. I've been doing this show even 2 years before 2008, and a guy in the chat room won Podcast of the Year in 2018. What? Pissed. Sorry, Jimmy, you're taking it. Taking you back to December 16th, 2008. Long time ago. I think we can agree on that. Does this name ring a bell? Dave Lefkoe, one of the founding partners of a product called what? Oh, wait. You tell me. Did you say bacon salt? Yes. He was my guest, and we talked all about the origins of bacon salt and the product. Little known fact that the company got its start from Dave's kid hitting him in the face with a wiffle ball that was set on a tee. And he sent it in to America's Funniest Home Videos. And while I just resaw the video again hours ago, not that funny. Funny enough to take the win that year, $5,000 in winnings. So him and his corporate partner took that money and started the Bacon Salt empire. Believe it or not, still around. You can go to baconsalt.com. Lots of flavors, way more than they had originally when I had them on in 2008. So if you haven't tried it, give it a shot. Why not? And originally made to help those folks who aren't allowed to eat bacon to get the flavor of bacon in a legal way, 100% kosher. You can subscribe to the show and its podcast feed by visiting this website, thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe. Don't forget, if you want to hear a guest or a segment again that's been lost in the archives, you email John and let him know you would like to hear, JON at thebbqcentralshow.com. To finish out this segment before we get to Tim Scheer's origin story, Malcolm Reed, who was on the show last week, did his weekly podcast a couple days after his appearance on Tuesday. I think it was last Thursday, and then he releases it on Friday, I believe. Well, wouldn't you know, his appearance made an appearance on his appearance on my show was talked about on his podcast this past Friday. And I'm not going to say he did an about face on some things. He still towed the line a little bit. I was way more intrigued with Rochelle's answering on some of this stuff, which I happened to cut up. So, Malcolm asks Rochelle question of the week from last week.
Last night, you went on Greg Grampy and talked about Memphis and May.
Yes, I did. Here's a question for you. This was Greg's poll question.
Okay.
Which
I
is
saw that.
the bigger, did he say bigger?
It's the bigger story.
Bigger story.
Bigger story.
Ongoing story within the barbecue.
Memphis and May debacle, the Memphis and May affair, or the KCBS judging scoring scandal thing. Which one's the bigger story to you?
I feel like the KCBS thing really showcases some holes in that system, and getting scored wrong is a big, big deal. So
yeah, you're going to go with that?
I'm going to have to go with that one.
Now, in the next clip, this might be my favorite one. Rochelle, gives it to Malcolm a little bit.
I just thought you played a politician a little too much talking about the May instead of just saying.
I was on the fence.
Hammer coming.
A little bit.
The hammer
I'll tell you
coming.
what I think. Memphis and May treats the teams pretty crappy. We've cooked a lot of contests. We've cooked the Royal, we've cooked small contests, we've cooked big contests. Memphis and May treats the teams the absolute worst, to the point where it's like, hey, what are y'all going to do about people breaking in and stealing stuff? Oh, that's y'all problem.
There was a Gestapo-like feeling here in the past few years.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So Malcolm leaves that bit out of Tuesday night. However, Rochelle not holding back, saying they feel like second-class citizens a little bit. Here's the next cut, saying that Memphis and May's decisions are made all on the money.
With every decision they made was more about money than anything. The teams were never taken into consideration. The logistics of the contest is horrible. The cost is astronomical.
It's great. I was thinking that on the way to work today. How much money? So we've been doing Memphis and May since 06.
Mm-hmm. We did it in
and
06
this will probably
for
make
3
you and I both very sick if we were to tally this up. How much money we spent on that one contest for the past, what's that been, 17 years?
I know how much we spent that very first year because I raised the money to get us in there.
Yeah.
It was like $3,000, I think is what we spent. We raised $2,500 and we had $500 to put.
And it only escalated from there.
You're going to have to add another zero to talk about what we've been spending the past couple of years, which is ridiculous.
Don't get me wrong. Something has to change with it.
Mm-hmm.
Adding another zero to $3,500. I'm no mathematician. That's $35,000. What? They're spending $35,000 to compete in Memphis in May? I mean, do you win $1 million? I mean, I got to win $1 million for me to even consider $35,000. I can go buy a Rolex watch for $35,000, keep it for 10 years, and then make money on the sale. $35,000. And I feel like that's the low end. $45,000, $50,000 you're hearing being tossed around. Nonsense. That's a lot of money, right? Last cut. Rochelle asking Malcolm if he would cook the new event.
Would you cook the new contest?
I'm curious. I'm not saying I wouldn't cook it because, never know. But I want to see what the format's like. I want to see who's judging it. I want to see what it costs. I want to see what you're cooking. I want to see what the prize payout is.
Yeah.
Is it worth your while to cook that contest? Is it for a charity?
I just know I don't have me personally, I don't have any loyalty to the Memphis in May contest.
You're disgruntled.
Very.
Disgruntled. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being disgruntled.
I thought Kerry Bringle's interview he did with Rimpey was really good.
It was really good.
And I agreed with everything he said. So
Greg's got to get some really good discussion on it.
Yeah, I know. Greg likes stirring the controversy.
He's got to dig to the root of it. So,
and you like to walk the line.
Got a Johnny Cash.
Yeah. I want to be mayor one day. You never know. I can't say too much, man.
Malcolm could be mayor someday of Hernando, the city of Hernando. I could see that happening. Rochelle calling him out, saying he could have laid into Memphis in May a little bit more when him and Heath were on last Tuesday. My next guest, who we'll be learning all about here over the next hour or so, won Memphis in May 2 years ago. Might have a thought or two before we race into the origin story of his self. Before we get to that, let's talk about Big Papa Smokers. Listen up, gang. Our friends at Big Papa Smokers have something special just for you, listeners of this show, whether you're a seasoned pitmaster or a grilling newbie. Big Papa Smokers, your one-stop shop for all things barbecue. From their championship rubs, mouth-watering sauces, essential accessories, they've got what you need to take your food to the next level, whether on the competition circuit or in the backyard, like me. Here's the cherry on top, the Luxardo cherry at that. Big Papa Smokers offering listeners of the Barbecue Central Show an exclusive deal. Use promo code REMPE, R-E-M as in Mike, P as in Papa, E. At checkout, that's R-E-M-P-E, and you'll get $10 off your next $50 purchase of rubs, sauces, or accessories. Imagine the possibilities, if you will. Evaluate your ribs with Big Papa's Sweet Money or Hot Sweet Money, which I love. Add Big Papa's Desert Gold to your chicken or vegetables. Why not? Better yet, pick up Big Papa's Double Secret. Try it on steak. Thank me later. Don't forget, use promo code REMPE at checkout and claim your $10 off your next order of $50 or more when you go to BigPapaSmokers.com. Also, don't forget to check out a full line of recipes and the associated cooking videos when you go to cookingwithbigpapa.com. Follow them on social media. Most importantly, when you go to BigPapaSmokers.com, promo code REMPE, $10 off your order of $50 or more. Why not? We're back with Tim Scheer right after this. Stick around. I'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or if you're a pro. It's a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. Looky here. Probably because she's got nothing better to do. Maddie Rempe watching the show tonight. Look at you, Maddie. Tuning in for the Tim Scheer origin story. Who is leading off the second hour here? Consistently a top hitmaster on the KCBS circuit, owner, creator of Gateway Drum Smoker, owner of the iconic Blues Hog brand of products, a purveyor of fine meat through his Marble Ridge Farms business, and this past October, one of 5 guests to be included in the new Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame. We welcome back our pal, Tim Scheer. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Greg. How's it going, buddy?
We are fine, and great to have you here. A couple different places I want to start before we get into the origin story of Tim Scheer here. We have a YouTube poll question. Wait, hold on one second. Tap the microphone.
Can you hear me?
No, it's not working.
What'd you do? Greg.
I mean, I can hear you through the computer speakers, but I can't hear you through your computer microphone, but not through your stick mic. Go ahead. He's doing the reconnect process. I'm sure of it. Through the
No. Where's that button for the microphone? For the.
Is there a button for the microphone?
No, I don't see it.
When you signed in, did you click on the blue text at the top?
I'm on settings.
Yeah. Input, audio input. You want to make sure that the Samson Q2U is picked. Don't worry, everybody. This sounded great when we tested in his office. Everything was right on par. We'll get it worked out. We'll work it out. Are you on a Windows machine?
No, I was on Chrome.
No. Like, are you on a Windows computer
I'm
or
on
a Mac? Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Hold on a second. Here's microphone. Built-in. Microphone teams. My Samsung's not pulling up.
Are you in your audio settings or sound settings? I mean, sound settings. That's what you need.
Oh man.
Take your time,
Greg.
Take your time. No worries. Everything's fine. Deep breath. Plenty of time on the turn-in clock. No worries.
Input.
Yep.
Yeah, this Samsung's not pulling up.
Is it on?
Yeah, it's been on.
Yeah. And it's plugged into the computer? It's not, is it?
You're gonna like this.
It's not plugged in.
How about now?
No.
How about now, buddy?
No. Still the same.
I got you. How about now?
Let's try this. Close all the way out, and then just come back in. I bet everything works at that point. No worries. Plenty of time.
I got it.
Let's see. Let's see what happens. Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Winner.
You got me?
Yes. Go ahead. Give me a mic tap just to confirm. Yes, sir. Now you can hear me?
We're there.
Yeah.
I got you.
All right. Great. So you sound 100% better. Appreciate you
Cool.
rolling with me there.
You don't look any better.
Well, no shit. Your sound, my looks. I mean, we were match made in heaven. Okay,
right,
we have a
buddy, we're
YouTube
in.
poll question of the week. We're asking everybody this evening your choice between the three for a Christmas dinner: a rib roast, a turkey, or a ham. Which one you pick?
Well, I think that's easy rib roast, but this turkey business is nonsense.
83% of people saying rib roast, 10% of people saying turkey, and 7% saying ham.
Greg, that's not acceptable. There's no way turkey's above ham.
Nothing
Nothing against turkey, but
I thought that was the thing, like Christmas ham. Now, I believe when I was a youth, we doubled up. We did turkey Thanksgiving, turkey Christmas for a while at least. At some point, we graduated into the rib roast, but Christmas ham, that's like a thing.
So these people obviously need to get on the website at marbleridgefarms.com and order themselves a ham. My good buddy, the world famous Jay LaBello over there is cranking out some pretty badass hams for us. And they will change your mind on that turkey business.
Enough of turkey, enough of ham, enough of rib roast. We have one other question. As somebody who's won Memphis in May, I called it the coup of 2022, and everybody agreed with me, by the way. Do you have any thought on what the hell is going on in Memphis leading into 2024?
No, I think I'm probably about like everybody is. I'm actually signed up for Memphis in May. Couldn't be happier that it's moving out of the swamp and over to a actual sustainable place over there at the Liberty Bowl. The judging's way better over there anyway. I can tell you that right now.
Why is it better? Because that's where you won?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So no, we're excited to go back. And hopefully whatever else happens downtown is great and good and everything else. Obviously I have nothing against anybody promoting barbecue. So, hopefully that takes off and there's more than one option. That's fine with me too.
Isn't it weird to have them competing though? Would you want to have them maybe in successive weeks or one per month or something like that?
Yeah, I would. I think they should just knock them out consecutive weeks. We go down to Memphis, spend a week, and call it good.
Tim Scheer is joining us, no doubt. Tim Scheer is joining us, and you can look at all of his different products through his different online landscapes, Gateway Drum Smokers, Blues Hog. He also has Marble Ridge and, of course, Shake and Bake Barbecue. You still doing the Barbecue League or the League or whatever the hell that thing is called?
Yeah, we are actually.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Man, you're a very busy guy. Let's learn about Tim Scheer. 2023 finds you getting into the Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame. I mean, were you shocked? Were you honored? Has life changed in magical ways since October?
I told you, man. I was shocked when you sent me that message. I thought it was like basically winning a Grammy. I didn't know what to do. I was excited, beside myself, to be honest with you. And when that ring showed up, I just couldn't believe it.
Yep.
That was legit, man. That's some serious bling right there. So thank you. I appreciate that. All I had to do is come on your show and cry like a big baby, I think. So easy.
Well, the good news is you had done previous segments as well. So you qualify for being into the Guest Hall of Fame, or at least being nominated by showing up on the show and doing one guest spot. So anybody that's ever done the show even once has potential of getting into the Guest Hall of Fame. But, of course, you go above and beyond. Let's get some origin story on Tim Scheer. When were you born? Where were you born?
I was born right here in Washington, Missouri, back in 1981.
Wow. You're just a pup.
I know. I'm a pup, I guess.
Wow.
Don't feel
42
like a pup.
then, right?
Getting
41,
old,
42?
I'm 41, yeah.
Yeah.
Or 40, what am I, 42? I have no idea what I am. Something like that.
Handsome, though.
I'm still kicking.
Yeah. So as you're growing up, what do you remember family life being like as you're kind of a rugrat?
Yeah, man. I grew up on a hog farm, and family life was always, if you had free time, something was wrong. I was always out, working at the farm and, just doing whatever I could between that and trying to play sports and stuff when I was younger. That was pretty much probably what my life consumed of, hey, rake, hey, bale, hey, repeat, so, it's fine. Learned a lot, learned how to work hard. I think that helped a lot, still does today, but yeah, that's what it was, man. I mean, goofed off a little bit, did kid stuff and, but spent a lot of time in those hog barns or, out in the field or wherever. So, that's pretty much what it was like. All my buddies were out at the swimming pool or goofing off somewhere doing nothing. And I was slopping hogs.
I don't know what farm means other than typically that is associated with lots of acres. Like we lived around a lot of farms where I grew up, especially before it really developed, and then it became, a lot more hoity-toity, whatever. But well after us. Are you so you have the hog farm, but then do you also have like hundreds and hundreds of acres where you're making hay and nonsense like this?
Yeah, so my dad had the hog farm. He actually grew up, and his dad was a chicken farmer, so he hated chickens. So he started hog farming, and then I naturally started to hate hogs. I've told him a million times that I finally figured out a way to make them smell good, and that was on the barbecue pits. So, but my mom actually grew up in the Missouri River bottoms down here, so basically in the middle of flat farmland. So yeah. Still does today. My dad has 4,000 sows, so it's a pretty big hog operation. Farms over 2,000 acres of corn and beans, and then several hundred acres of hay and pasture, and run a couple hundred head of cattle as well.
You got siblings?
I have one sister. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought when you had a farm, like you have kids to be the hired help around there to get the farming done.
I know. And my dad was an only child, so he's pretty much a one-man band out there at the farm. He's 73,
Wow.
works like he's 20, still goes crazy every day with it. I don't think he's ever made any money, but that doesn't really matter to him. I guess he just does it because that's what he does. That's what a lot of farmers do.
You have a good relationship with your sister?
Okay.
Yeah.
She doesn't live close by, so
no. Like when you're growing up, like are you guys close? Close
we're
in
both
age
pretty
and stuff?
stubborn and hard-headed, so we like to butt heads a little bit.
When you guys were growing up, were you like pretty close in age?
She's a couple years older than me.
Yeah.
No, she got off easy, man. I always had to do all the work, and she just hung around the house.
Your parents stay together as you're growing up?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
Mom's school teacher, dad farms.
As you're growing up, like before high school and stuff, you have pretty good relationship with them, your parents?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty good.
What's the food scene like at the house as you're growing up?
Oh, big food scene, man. That's kind of one of the main things that got me into cooking. My grandma was a great cook. Both of them were, and my mom's a hell of a cook too. I mean, I get a lot of my cooking skills, I guess, or whatever you want to call them, habits maybe from her. I don't think she's ever followed a recipe. Never looked in a book. Just crank it out, stick your finger in it, taste it. If it's good, you keep going. If not, you fix it. So, and that's the other thing growing up on the hog farm. I mean, we had pork, so I cooked, from early age, but I was one that was, if I was home, I was home before my dad was or whatever. And, I would fire up the grill and cook every pork item you could cook, pork chops, pork steaks, pork burgers, the whole deal, never ending. So yeah, I mean, that was, we ate well, and, a lot of that was my mom cooking and learning from her mom.
Do you recall having an active interest in like being around the kitchen and helping mom cook, or you just like the way she cooked because it tasted good?
No, I did actually. I cooked. I liked to cook when I was younger. Especially with the barbecue. And I remember we had an old smoker in the garage. It was sitting in the corner collecting dust, and I dug that thing out once or twice and tried to figure it out and fire it up on my own. We had up here we had pork steaks all the time. So, I would take a pork steak and mess around with seasonings and tenderizers and all that stuff and try to figure it out as I went. So the family was always happy it was done and they could eat, but I was already trying to figure out the barbecue world, I guess. I didn't even know it.
Yeah, so I was going to say, were you exposed to, aside from the grilling that you had already mentioned, were you exposed to any real low and slow Southern style barbecue methods? Was your dad into that?
See, not as much. So like I said, with the pork steaks, we always cut all of our pork butts into pork steaks. I mean, that's how every fundraiser or barbecue would go to in this area, in St. Louis area. That's what everybody did with it. We didn't have like low and slow whole shoulders or anything like that. So it was kind of weird that we didn't, being on a hog farm, we didn't do much, as far as ribs or anything like that either. It was pork chops, pork burgers, or pork steaks, to be honest with you. So, we had a Weber grill and tried to figure out that and tried to kind of slow it down and cook the pork steaks a little bit longer, a little bit lower and slower than what you normally would. But had that old smoker that it was kind of like a Smoky Mountain type thing, a small one, I think, and tried to figure that out when I was younger. But it wasn't until going off to college and stuff like that where I started having pulled pork and some of the more southern styles of barbecue, and I was definitely interested. Caught my attention.
Get into high school. What kind of a student are you as you go through those 4 years?
I wasn't a great student. I mean, it's kind of funny. I didn't put a whole lot of effort into school, to be honest with you. I did enough to get by, and just wasn't really all that interested, to be honest with you. I mean,
Fast Eddy said last week that he was a terrible student, but he loved to go every day because there was so much social activity that he was involved with. Similar to you?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say terrible, but I was definitely not an honor roll kid. So I did enough to get by, and I enjoyed playing sports and things like that in high school. So I had to stay eligible and all that, but it wasn't bad. You know what I mean? I was probably a B and C type student, that was more concerned about just getting it over with and, getting a straight A.
You had mentioned sports, and for those that know you, you're widely considered to be, maybe self-proclaimed, tallest man in barbecue. How tall do you stand currently?
6'7" currently.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Were you taller in high school, or are you still about the same?
No, I was about 6'5", 6'6" in high school.
Okay.
Grew a little bit afterwards. But yeah.
You play basketball then, I assume, or were you multi-sport?
Yeah, I played basketball in high school. We had a really good team in high school. Won 2 state championships back then. Kind of a fun fact. Hate to pat my own back, but I did score 45 point championship game when I was a
Really?
sophomore. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Ended up winning that and got third our junior year and won again the state championship in 99 in my senior season. So it was fun. We got lifelong friends and memories from that, and it was a heck of a good time back then.
When you win 2 state titles in a 4-year span, does that earn you looks to college, or like were you at a smaller school where it didn't really matter?
Yeah, I was definitely at a small school, small high school. I think we were 1A, which is basically the smallest school in the state. But yeah, I did get a full ride scholarship to Southeast Missouri State. Played 4 years of basketball down there. Got my school paid for or whatever. So, again, didn't focus too terribly detailed on the schoolwork, but got it done.
Is Southeast Missouri State a Division II school or Division I?
It's a Division I, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So we made it to the NCAA tournament first time in school history my freshman year.
What's that like? I mean, there's some statistic out there that 7% of all high school athletes make it to that next level, regardless of division. 1, 2, or 3. My daughter just got done playing Division II college volleyball. But, I mean, that's a pretty tight bottleneck to go from all those athletes playing in high school to college. I mean, what's that accomplishment like for you?
Yeah, it's crazy. And, when you're that age, I don't think you realize, how lucky you are to get to play a sport or be involved in something like that. You're just doing it, and half the time you're dreading doing it. And, when you get to college, especially, it's a full-time job. I mean, they give you 20 hours a week, but you're doing it for 40 or more, 50, probably more hours a week. You're doing something related to that sport. So, the education is certainly not free, but, you work your butt off for it. But, the life lessons you learn through sports, in my opinion, is greater than anything you can learn in that classroom. I mean, I've got, 3 daughters all playing basketball right now, and a freshman and a sophomore in high school. And I'm constantly trying to show them and get them to appreciate the lessons that they're learning in sports, not just scoring or winning. It's about the teamwork and about the adversity and all the other stuff you're going to go through that you just cannot learn, as quickly. I guess you can learn it, but I think sports just give you a dose of real world reality right off the bat. And you got to be mentally tough for it, especially this day and age where, every game is broadcast and everything else like that. So it's, I think it's a major opportunity, the kids, and having a good lesson from.
What are you majoring in during college? What do you graduate with?
I was majoring in ag business and horticulture, basically. So, my goal was to have the landscaping company, and that's what I did for, nearly 20 years, I guess. As I started the barbecue endeavor and everything else, I was, still at a landscape company up until about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we finally sold the landscape company. And, I really enjoyed the design and the building the project and stuff like that. But to the end, it was getting to be a major pain in the butt as far as employees and even the homeowners and stuff like that. We're just starting to get somewhat entitled feeling, and it just wasn't as fun as it used to be. That's for sure. And I was getting old. Is hard work.
Yeah, well, I mean, getting older and then not being able to find reliable help or people that meet your standard of work is always going to be tough, especially when you don't seem to see an end to it, or it's only going to get worse the longer you go. So probably makes the sale a lot easier.
Yeah, it was time. And barbecue luckily and fortunately came along. And 2012 we started making the drum smokers for Gateway Drum Smokers. And that was something that I had no intentions of getting into, really. It was just, okay, we built them for ourselves. Other people are liking them. Now what do? We either say no or we turn it into a real business. You know what I mean? And, I was fine taking it on, and trying that out. And then 2015 rolls around, and, our good friend Billy Arnold was sick and everything. And, when he asked me to buy the Blues Hog Company, and, I just didn't even think or ask how much or anything. I just told him, of course, yes, I want to do that. You know what I mean? And that's one of the coolest things I think I've ever been a part, had the opportunity to be a part of, honestly. And, I knew the potential of it. I knew how good the product was. And I knew that it just needed a driving force behind it to take it to another level. So
I want to circle back on that here in a second, and talk about the entrance into barbecue. Before we do that, can we be regaled with a love story of Tim Scheer, how you meet your wife and all that fun stuff?
Yes, our story goes back a long time. So the funniest thing is that I don't know what we were, probably like 3 or 4. You know what I mean? We were the
years old.
I don't know, the two little kids that walked down at the homecoming dance or whatever at the high school was Terry and I. So I joke about it. I guess I caught her eye, very early. But I think we might have I don't know what you're doing when you're in 5th or 6th grade. We might have dated or whatever, went to the movies once or something. And then, high school, I think our sophomore year is kind of when we started getting a little more serious. We were good friends, honestly, in high school, and, been together ever since, basically. So, she's a trooper, I can tell you that.
When you hear of folks, I mean, it's not very common that you've had that longevity, literally going back to where you could sit here and say, yeah, I've known her since I'm 4 or 5. Every once in a while you hear the high school sweetheart thing, and a lot of those fail because you get stale. I mean, who the hell knows why it goes? Why do you think this is a long time, Tim? Like, why do you think you guys have been able to stay together? And at least from an outsider's view looking in, I mean, I don't know what is really going on behind closed doors, but you seem to thrive both as a couple and as business partners.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she thinks I'm stale. There's no doubt about that, Greg. But no, we just always been it together. I mean, she's a great person, and she's allowed me to do basically everything I've wanted to do in the business world, and she's been right there to help and support, and even more so take care of the kids and run them around and do all the stuff that first class mom does. I mean, she kills it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how she does it sometimes, but it's cool. You know what I mean? I just think we keep rolling.
Do you guys talk about having
her
kids?
parents are great. My parents support. I mean, the whole deal. So,
do you guys talk about having kids like pretty quick after getting married, or does that just kind of happen?
Yeah, I mean, after we got married, it was a couple of years, but and then we had the 2 back to back and everything, and she was good at having kids and liked it and stuff. And I was a little nervous because her dad is actually one of 14 siblings, so I was like, holy cow, you're not thinking about this, are you?
Yeah.
So,
fertile myrtle.
Then we had our 3rd girl, and I was like, we're shutting it down. So I think she would have went for another one to try to get a boy, but I didn't think that was the right idea at the time. So.
How old are the girls?
They're 15, 14, and 11 now. So, yeah, got 2 in high school.
When you look at like how you're growing up, and you look at how you're raising your daughters, like, were there anything that you thought, when I have kids, I want to do it this way, or I want to instill these things? Like, how does you differing how you're parenting your girls versus how you were parented?
I mean, there's things that you learn, I guess, good and bad from your parents, right? I'm by no means perfect at it, and it's the hardest thing you do in life, I think, is try to raise them and try to get them to turn out right and stuff like that. I mean, they're good kids for sure. I mean, we have fun together. I think we have a good relationship. We butt heads sometimes, but for the most part, we can roll with it and don't hold it against each other. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a challenge every day. There's things I wish I would do better, and there's things that we do all right, but it's hard to say exactly, what I'm doing right or wrong, I guess. So just try to show them that hard work and stay positive and be good to people. I mean, that's the main thing.
Where did you learn about competition barbecue?
So basically, when I first started cooking competition barbecue, I had no clue. I mean, we started at a local winery. I think we got 4th place out of 5 teams. I don't know, something really bad. But god dang, we had the most fun ever. I mean, pretty sure we burnt our trailer down on the way home. I mean, just whatever could have happened, it probably happened that day. And we had some of our best friends out there, and just we were doing it, man. We were doing it. As we went on, we did 1 or 2 competitions locally, and same deal. Just we're there to have fun and to kind of party. And if we turned something in, that was great. You know what I mean? But after a couple of years of that and getting destroyed, I started to, my competitive nature started kicking in. And I'm like, all right, if we're going to do these competitions, I got to have a chance. I at least got to have a chance to win something. It's like, so I was just studying up and back then there was maybe the what is it called? The Barbecue Brethren was one thing you could maybe pick up a few tips on, but there
Yeah.
was so much just BS on there that it was hard to really find anything. But, honestly, talking to local pit masters and, a buddy of mine from back then, Jeff Brinker was cooking barbecue fairly well and doing all right, and he would slip some tips every once in a while, and I just started paying attention, you know what I mean? And after that, it was just doing research and buying sauces and rubs and experimenting at the house with not only that but cooking techniques. I mean, had an offset, Oklahoma Joe smoker, whatever they are, that was just I was brutal at it. I was not doing anything right probably. So we did the first competition, bought a bigger stick burner, and stayed up all night and woke everybody up and made a mess. And right after that, speaking of Eddy, I bought a FEC 100, and that's when started to set the button and get consistent temps and times, and started to at least have a chance. You know what I mean? I would go to a contest and at least have a chance to get a call. And then after that, we evolved into the drum smoker.
How do you evolve into that? If you're running something that is allowing you to be consistent, like why do you switch into something else and then live fire at that?
It's a couple of reasons. For me, I'm a kind of guy that doesn't really sit still. I'm nervous energy all the time and got to be fiddling with something. And when I was, running the pellet smoker, I literally would hit a button at 10 o'clock at night and go to bed. And I was like, I just wasn't feeling like I was doing anything. I wasn't challenged. I didn't even get to light my own fire. So, and I was struggling in the rib category, I think it was, and started cooking the ribs on the Gateway drum smoker, the first one, and that's the year that we won. 2012 is the year that we won first place ribs at the American Royal. So that's when it really started hitting. You know what I mean? And then after ribs, we just started adding another meat, and sooner or later, I remember the first time I was going to go all drums at a contest, and everybody, nobody was doing it really back then, and I was nervous as hell. I got up at 3 a.m. and put my meat on, wanted to give myself plenty of time just in case it didn't work, in case it didn't go hot and fast like I wanted it to. Had everything off and done by 7 a.m. So I'm sitting there, did my 4-hour cook, just 5 hours too early. So, so many learning curves, and even till this day, we still tweak and tune on those things and try to dial them in and, hit different techniques and flavors and stuff like that. I mean, barbecue can be very humbling, Greg. I mean, speaking of prime rib, we cooked one today for a video, and I was like, I'm going to try this technique or whatever, slow it down, see what I can do, and just not happy with it at all when it turns out. And I'm just like, wow, that was a complete failure. I mean, it was a complete failure, but it was just not what I was hoping for. So, I mean, it never ends. You know what I mean? You're constantly chasing something that, you can change, or, I mean, it just takes a ton of practice, honestly. I mean, people want to shortcut or do this or that or whatever. It just takes a ton of practice and repetition. And, just like anything in life, you gotta be ahead of your mistakes, I guess, and know how to fix them.
As the Gateway drum smoker business is growing, you still have the landscape businesses you talked about, and you're also doing competitive barbecue, and you're also being a family guy at the same time. How are you able to manage trying to grow a cooker business, which seems to be taking off? I remember hearing about it for the very first time, like 12 years ago, whatever it was. So how are you, was it manageable, the order intake, or were you immediately behind because once people see you winning, now everybody wants to do what everybody, what's winning, everybody else wants to do that?
On the smoker business, we kind of took it as it came, I guess, a little bit more than just sticking your neck out or anything like that. So, there was some times where we had some lead times and things like that, but for the most part, it wasn't totally overwhelming. So we were able just to kind of manage it and just do it as it came. I mean, it wasn't something that I was making a ton of money on by any means. So I wasn't, it was kind of always kind of the second, I call it the stepchild of my company sometimes, because, we don't put enough energy into it probably that it could take, but it's a tough business too. I mean, we're competing against, imported equipment that's just so much less expensive, and shipping just went through the roof. And they're hard to ship. It's a big old drum smoker full of air. You know what I mean? It's bulky and things like that. So there's some things about it that probably limit the profitability on it. So it's one of those things where I love it. It works so good. It's hard to beat on as far as cooking barbecue. I mean, it's just so easy and efficient and fast and everything, flavorful. I mean, whole deal. You know what I mean? But it never really let it kind of get overwhelming for us.
When we talk about the Blues Hog portion of this business, so you have the competition team, now you have the cooker business, and then Bill Arnold approaches you about buying Blues Hog. Did he ever tell you, say, hey, this is the reason I'm coming to Tim Scheer to take, this is an icon. I mean, for anybody that's in competition barbecue or is even around it in an ancillary way, this is an iconic brand name. It's even become more household than I ever thought it would. I knew, we would always appreciate its value and its wonderful product in itself. Why Tim?
I was wondering the same damn thing, Greg. I
Really?
had no idea. I mean, Bill was so cool as far as, talking to him and stuff, but it was hard to have a serious conversation with that guy because he was just so funny and off the wall. And, I mean, we'd be serious for like 1 second and then it's back to, some crazy joke he wanted to tell or a story or something like that. So, I probably didn't get all the information. I mean, I know he was fond of what we were doing with the drum smoker and kind of how we'd built barbecue, and loved that we had the kids and stuff at the competition, just like he did, back in the day and stuff. So, it was funny because I think it was Gracie up at his daughter Gracie up at the American Royal. He's like, I just don't understand how you and my dad were so close and like, how you guys got along so well, because you guys are totally different. I was like, Gracie, we're honestly not that much different. Like, we are, but like we had so many similarities too at the same time. Like we loved having fun with each other and just enjoying the competitions and the people. And I remember back in the day before I even talked to him about business, I mean, I stood up at the contest, just listened to him tell bullshit stories the entire, half the night or whatever. And I was just like, I was grinning from ear to ear the whole time, and I just couldn't even believe it. You know what I mean? And he was so funny like that. But we both like to have fun at the contest and goof off, and but we also wanted to get our work done. You know what I mean? That's kind of like we say it all the time. Like rule number one in business for us. Our whole crew is that we hang out with or whatever, and even that we work with at work. I mean, it's certainly not a super professional environment sometimes, but the back of the mind rule is always just get your work done, like get it done. And so we can do something else, you know what I mean? Like nobody loves having a job, so we might as well make it as fun as possible. Get our work done and then let's go do something more fun. So, I mean, that's kind of how we operate.
How do you look to preserve what Bill built, but also then put your own stamp on? I mean, this is your business now, so certainly you want to pay homage to how it was brought to you, but then you want to grow it and, make sure everybody has the ability to experience this iconic brand.
Yeah. I mean, that was daunting, as far as the task. I'll never forget, like when we first did it and we had to move co-packers right off the bat, and I'm just like, holy cow, I'm going to screw this whole thing up in the first 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And we took some hits or whatever, but I knew we could get it. You know what I mean? I just knew we could. And, Billy said straight up to me, he goes, Tim, I want Blues Hog to be a household name. I want it to be in every household in America. And I'm like, all right, Bill, I'll do whatever I can to make that happen. You know what I mean? And, he was such a big personality and stuff. But, if he was in better health, I think he would have been one of the biggest stars in barbecue, honestly. You know what I mean? It just had that kind of personality. So by no means did I ever want to step in and think I was trying to take that, because that's not at all who I am or what I wanted to do. So perfectly fine letting the brand do the talking for it, and letting what he did in his story just it was enough. It didn't need any extra. You know what I mean? The product was good enough to do it itself, and that's kind of how I wanted it to be. And it's been working out just fine. Like, totally happy with it. And, the honoring him up the American Royal this year, I thought was the coolest thing we could have done. I thought everything we did for him was, just couldn't have went off any better. It was a blast, man. It was good.
Is there any portion of you that's pissed it didn't happen last year instead of this year?
I mean, yeah, I was frustrated. I mean, we were nominating him and stuff like that. And, you always hope that, it's not his last year, you know what I mean? And we had him up at the Royal, every time we could, as far as, getting him there and getting him moved around and stuff. And he loved that, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's people, nothing against them that went in, and I'm like, we're on a time clock here, people, you know what I mean? It's like, we need to make this happen. So, yeah, it was frustrating for sure. But, we made the most out of it. Like I said, his whole family was up there. I mean, haven't seen those guys together, like, honestly, ever. You know what I mean? And we had a lot of fun, too. It was good.
Marble Ridge is the last business that I know of that's currently out there providing, the high-end stuff, not consumers grade. How do you get into, obviously you have the background in it, but why Wagyu beef and the high-end hog?
Well, I joked around with my dad like probably 10 years ago to raise a Wagyu, and I wish that we did back then, because we would have been miles ahead, right? So
yeah.
I didn't think it was attainable. I was in no position to take on any more jobs by any means. So, I don't know how or why it happens when it happens. The timing's never right for anything, right? So, same with, the Gateway Drum Smokers. I didn't need another job. You know what I mean? I had one. Blues Hog comes along. Holy cow, I have no experience in food business whatsoever. Like, how are we going to make this work? And it just happens, and you make it work, right? Because it's an opportunity. You jump on it, and you make the most out of it. So, sold the landscaping business. A piece of property came up for sale. That was connected to, my family farm, right? That I grew up on, and piece of property that I liked and had my eye on for a long time. Was the timing perfect or right? Heck no. How are we going to make this happen? I really wanted to do that. So we ended up buying that property, and, I'm okay, well, what are we going to do with that farm? We've got 80 acres now. What do we do with it? So I'm like, well, I'll put a couple cows out there. Right. So, so I bought like 15 Wagyu, mama cows, full blood Wagyu mama cows. I'm like, this is cool. I get to come out here, hang out with the cows. It's super easy. It's, it's not a lot of labor. It's perfect, just let it be. And then, old Tim kicks in and doesn't allow himself to have a enjoyable hobby ever. So we got to turn that into a full blown job. So, just kept adding more and building it up, and then, just getting the itch, you know what I mean, to start something new.
Do you have
Marble Ridge Farm?
Do you have access to, like, as you said, these mama Wagyu cows? Like, are they on the street corners or what?
No, we drove halfway across the country. I think we drove to Texas to buy some, just all over wherever you could find them. There's not that many of them out there, honestly. So, I would find 3 or 4 here and then a couple here, and I'd send Brother Dickie out on a road trip, and he'd come back with them, at 2 a.m. or something. He would have them. So, pretty crazy, honestly. And just wanted to build something else, out there, and kind of have something that was our own. But had not too many intentions of even taking it to this far, this soon by any means. So, it's something that I enjoy doing. I remember talking with my daughter on the way back from basketball practice, like, what are we going to call this farm? Here's a couple things I'm thinking of name wise. And we're just chit chatting about, what to name it and everything. And just, she's into horses and things like that. So just a place for her to go. And we keep the show pigs out there for them, all 3 of them. So really, it's just, that was kind of that part of it. But then as I got into it, it's like, wait a second, like, who has a farming background with facilities here, accessible, that's in the barbecue, that could raise their own product, basically literally from genetics to feeding out to, where it's packed at, how it's cut, And then we get into the barbecue world. Like
Yeah.
all that stuff can happen before that, just to hone in your product. So, I started studying genetics, not only in the Wagyu world, but in the hog world, and I'm, doing research and, ordering some things and just checking it out, talking to whoever I can talk to that might know something about it. So we started doing the Mangalitsa and the Duroc sired pork. Had a chance to buy the last 24 Chester White female hogs from Bob Ivy. I don't know if you ever heard of Silky Pork out in North Carolina. He had a big brand that was most being exported, to China and everything. So, but just a high quality pork, marbles like a Duroc. So basically what we've come to right now is the Mangalitsa Duroc sire onto the Chester White. So we get kind of the best of all three worlds there with the low melting point Wagyu style fat from that Mangalitsa, the marbling from the Duroc, and the growth from the Chester White and marbling from there as well. So with those three combined, we finally got that blend produced and harvested. And I mean, the tenderloin or the rib loin and stuff like that we cut and took pictures of and stuff. It was just out of this world. I was so happy with it. So it's crazy. And then, when you throw that on top of, your story at Memphis in May, I mean, how does that even happen? We raise our own hog, we build a mega drum, never even used it hardly before, take it down to Memphis and tell this story that sounds ridiculously made up, but it's all 100% true. I mean, that's just kind of the icing on the cake for it. And it gives us a lot of pride that we literally took something from start to finish, like beyond start to finish, and used all of our products and that we created and developed and sell and everything else to win the ultimate pork prize. I mean, that was insane.
It's like you're, as they say in the cigar world, you're a vertically integrated company. So you're starting, from right at the beginning all the way to the very end, and it's all under, your housing. So totally insane.
It really is, man. Yeah. Not a big fan of some of those cliche kind of words, but it's legit right here, man. I mean, it is literally start to finish. And, it's cool. I like it. I enjoy it. Farming, like as much as I had to do it when I was younger, I wanted to get away from it, I did, I did my own thing. I had nothing really to do with it, for probably 20 years, you know what I mean? And then something, I don't know, you want to go, it's like all that stuff I did back then, I started to appreciate, I think, and like, holy shit, I used to get to do this all the time and I hated it, and it's like, but it's a lot of fun now out there and kind of be in your own world.
When you look at that Memphis in May win, you're with Brad Leininger. You guys are competing under Blues Hog. Brad, obviously, I don't know. I mean, we could talk about, is he the best that's ever done it? Is he the best in the last 15 years? I mean, he's won Team of the Year. Is it 2 or 3 out of the last 5 or 6 years, whatever it is? Are you guys friends? Are you guys best buddies? Are you guys frenemies? Like, what's the straight dope with you guys?
We're everything, man. Like, so Brad was one of the first guys we met, early on. One of the first 10 people probably to buy a drum smoker from me. You know what I mean? And he was just getting started in barbecue, and I was kind of been doing it for a couple of years, but enjoyed hanging out with him and his brother-in-law Michael and his family and stuff. We got to be really good friends with them. I mean, we traveled and did everything, and it's kind of always been, certain things we all just did together. Like, let's go do Memphis, let's go do a class. Let's, we've been to Australia, we've been to Europe, doing stuff and everything. And it's just fun to have somebody there, and especially now, like bouncing secrets or ideas or whatever back and forth. And we probably did that a million times as we went and still do today. Like I haven't been able to cook as much over the past year or so. And, I call him up and be like, all right, give me the scoop here lately. And, it's usually about the same, but it's not bad to have a refresher. You know what I mean? So we've got a class coming up this weekend, actually, that he and I will do together. So, I mean, we're good friends. We love to razz each other. I mean, I love to I love to beat him. He loves to beat me. I mean, it's the best. You know what I mean? We talk trash. I mean, you know, we just never really get our feelings hurt. We just keep rolling. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny, but no, I mean, as far as him and what he's done over the past couple of years, I mean, I don't know how he keeps going and doing that much. But he's crushing it. You know what I mean? Like, he's a force, you know, in the barbecue world. And I don't know what the numbers are, the stats compared to everybody else, but I would imagine he's got to be right there, you know, as far as, you know, the numbers of wins and everything else. So,
you concerned with leaving a legacy on purpose behind, or do you feel that whatever you're doing amongst all the companies is legacy enough, and whatever's left is left?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really get caught up in that, honestly. Like, you know, I'm just trying to do what I need to do to you know, build our company, build our brands, you know, try to win a contest. I mean, the rest of that stuff takes care of itself. And, you know, that's kind of another thing that I think goes back to playing sports when I was younger. I mean, I won a lot of awards and did a lot of cool stuff and all that. You know what I mean? I don't never really got caught up on it, man. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I guess you know, you learn how to win, you learn how to lose, and you keep carrying on at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I mean, I'm sure when I look back on them, like, shit, we have done a lot of stuff, you know, a lot of cool stuff, and been fortunate, and you know, but it's nothing that I sit there and concern myself with it on a daily basis. That's for sure. So,
Tim Scheer has said it all here tonight. You've learned way more about him than maybe you thought you were going to learn. I had no idea he was a Division I basketball player. I knew he was tall. I had no idea he won 2 state championships. I did know he won Memphis in May because he came on the show and talked about it. And, of course, he is a 2023 Barbecue Central Show's guest Hall of Famer. Tim, look, congratulations on all the success. I appreciate the fact that you have showed up here on this show over many years. So you go back through and, you know, you've been showing up, you know, right along during the live shows, which I certainly appreciate, giving great interviews. And between Shake and Bake and Gateway Drum and Blues Hog and Marble Ridge, I mean, you're certainly an inspiration to a lot of folks out there in the industry because you have your hands in a lot of different portions of the live fire industry. So continued success. I appreciate the extended time here tonight, and look forward to doing it again sooner than later.
Yeah, that sounds good. And thank you for having me on so many times. Always appreciate what you do and promoting barbecue and all that. And we're going to have that embryo talk.
Yes.
And
2024.
And, all that stuff at a later date, I guess, because that's a whole another piece, right?
Oh, yeah. All right. We'll do that next year. Thanks, Tim.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Thank
take
you.
care.
I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
Oh, sorry. Tim Scheer right there doing the origin story, which I certainly appreciate. And, wow, what a hog farm, college basketball, landscape, Gateway Drum Builder. Let's buy Blues Hog from Bill Arnold, the icon. He wants me to take it over. Now we got high-end beef and pork. Wow. Total inspiration, no doubt about it. And we thank Tim for giving us an extended period of time here this evening. We're 10 minutes past the hour. Just in yesterday in the mail, December's box from JRE Tobacco. Is it the Corojo Reserva line? Yes. Is it the Figurado? Yes. What does that mean? Well, unless I'm mistaken, and I don't believe I am, this one is what they call a box press. And at the tip, it's like torpedoed at the tip where you're going to smoke out of. And then the foot is normal, except instead of being in the round, this is box pressed, so a little bit square. I'm going to have to double check that, but I do believe it's box pressed. So, now only a box of 10 because of how they're made, instead of 20 like the usual rounds. So the offer stands. If you want one, I'll send one. I'm not sending a pair out like I do with the rounds. But if you want one, and it's a 6-inch by 50 ring gauge, I believe. So, right in my wheelhouse as far as ring gauge and length. So if you got the time, I would allot hour and 15 to an hour and a half, depending on how quick you smoke it. So if you're interested, hit me up and I'll send one out like we've been doing here for the last couple months. Also, I have some Aladino Classics left over, so if you want to try one of those, just let me know. What do we know? I love the Reserva line, yes, but JRE Tobacco out of Honduras is making, in my opinion, some of the best cigars out there, premium hand-rolled cigars. Forget about that nonsense that you're hearing about Cuban cigars this, Cuban cigars that. Cuba's in trouble, pal. In Cuba, you want to come after me? Let's go. Your labor force is dying, literally and figuratively. You pay your laborers nothing, and your cigars are average at best. I don't care what they're telling you. I know what's going on down there. And by the way, you look at the aesthetics between an Aladino and any Cuban, forget about it. With Aladino or JRE Tobacco, you're getting the essence of Cuba, except it's sexy and it tastes better. And way less expensive on the market. Are you kidding me? Find a dealer near you, jretobacco.com, or if you want to sample, let me know. Send me an email, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com, and I'll get you either a Figurado or a Toro. Not a Toro. Robusto. I got Robusto in Reserva line too. Or the Aladino Classic. You tell me. greg@thebbqcentralshow.com for a sample. jretobacco.com to find a dealer or retailer near you. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Tim Scheer for the extended time over the last hour coming in and doing an origin story. Gateway Drum Smokers, Blues Hog, Shake and Bake Barbecue, Marble Ridge. Go ahead. Check them all out. Become a customer, become a fan, become a follower, do all that stuff. Also available on all the social media platforms in those respective environments. All right, so let's go ahead and get on out all the way back in the first hour. Okay. Come on. We'll remove those. Yes, there we go. All the way back in the first hour, it was Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. We played a game. Meathead, I'm going to do the games from now on. All right? You leave the games to me. After Meathead, Robert Moss, robertfmoss.com. Second hour, all Tim Scheer, all the time. Worked through a little microphone mishap. I think we come to find out it wasn't plugged in. Usually I'm not the one that has to do it, but once we start really working back into it, we got to start with the basics. Is it plugged in? Was it? No. We fixed that. We fixed it. Good news for the podcasters. You're only hearing about it now because I went in and I cut all of that out. You're welcome. This is extra funny because I was a guest, or I am a guest, on the most recent Grab 'em in the Brisket episode, available for download anywhere on all podcast platforms. Grab 'em in the Brisket. And we talked about how I will actively go in to a live show after the fact and edit out stuff for the listeners that they don't need to listen to. Me getting Tim through the microphone part, they don't need to listen to. They're hearing about it now, but they didn't go through that up front. I'm going to go through at the end of the show right now and edit all that out. That's all you're just hearing about it. You didn't get to experience it. You're welcome. Big show planned for you next week. It's the third Tuesday of the month already, if you can believe it. We got quarterly guests coming up. We got Wes Wright coming up. Already? Come on. Christmas is almost here. I hope you're ready. Until, how do I always leave? September 11, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
Hi, this is Austin Parsons, Pitmaster with Smoky Mountain Q in Nashville, Tennessee, and you are listening to the BBQ Central Show.